Shut up and sit down.
How many times have you said, if I'd only known then what I know now? So I'm going to play that game with you today. And as I put my list of things together, I probably could have had 50 on the list, but I knew you wouldn't watch a 4-hour video. So I narrowed it down to the top 7 things I wish someone had shared with me before I started in this business of selling. Now let's have some fun with this. Let's eat some mental candy, tune out the world for a moment, and enjoy a thoughtful lesson. Statement number 1, what I wish someone had shared with me, part 1 of a 2-part lesson series. Lead with questions, not with answers. Recently, I was reading a book entitled Good to Great, and it had a number of good illustrations where the author referenced related to how great leaders ask questions, and it got me to thinking. In fact, all good leaders ask questions, but the great ones are the ones who are not afraid of the answers. Good to great leaders make particularly good use of the informal meetings where they meet in groups, with managers and employees, no script, no agenda, no set action items to discuss, not the typical dog and pony show where people are afraid to speak and then we all just go to lunch. Instead, great leaders start with questions like, so what's on your mind? Can you tell me a little more about that? I literally need to understand how this is working. What should we be worried about? Now, those non-agenda meetings become the format where issues bubble to the surface, and we should never be afraid of what bubbles to the surface unless we have something to be afraid of. You see, leading from good to great doesn't mean coming up with the answers and then making everybody follow the messianic vision to get there. It means having the humility to grasp the fact that you do not yet understand enough, that you do not yet have all the answers, so you must ask the questions that lead to the best possible insight. Apply that to any type of business. We've taught you that the best question to ask the prospect is the why question, the Larry King question. Why? Why? Well, that's just level 1 selling. Have you ever had a 4-year-old in the back seat repeat the question, why? Why, Daddy? Over and over again. Why? It is so annoying. So maybe we need to drill down for a few better questions to ask our prospects, one that will open dialogue without losing control of the sales process. I wish someone had told me how important questions are early in my career. I fumbled with download after download, spewing the specs of my widget and the specifics of my offerings, and oh my gosh, I must have bored people to death. Leading with questions I already knew the answer to. Why did I do that? Because I was told to do that. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Hey, stupid, that's only for lawyers on television. I guess I got my wires crossed on that one. There's a second thing I wish I had been told earlier in my sales career. And this one would really have saved me a lot of time. It's engage in dialogue, not debate. Engage in dialogue, not debate. The moment you engage in disagreement, you've gone backward toward the ultimate goal of your conversation, which is connection. You've not necessarily lost the sale, but you've allowed yourself to step into a hole so deep that Iron Man might have difficulty getting out of that successfully. We've all made this mistake. We justify our disagreement on the grounds of principle. Now, you could stand on that principle all day long, but you will not achieve a sale. Now, you come alongside the prospect, figuratively, put your arm around him or her and share. Learn to agree with the prospect, even if they're wrong. You say, Mark, that's deceitful. No, that's wisdom. Arguing with an angry prospect is like arguing with a drunk in a bar. Debate is for losers. You've heard this on the sales floor. You've heard it in the tone of conversations, and maybe you've done it too. But we never hear it in our own voice. We hear it in somebody else's voice, never in our own. Listen, when the producer speaks, you can't hear the prospect speaking back, but you're listening. You know they've just said something to upset the world order of that producer because the producer starts speaking in these short staccato answers and the pitch starts to go up. And if you're within eyeshot, you can see frowny face going on. Where did it go wrong? I don't know. But you do. You feel it slipping away as a producer. It's like driving a car off a cliff. It's over. Let me tell you what debate produces. About 10 years ago, I owned an agency where I had 5 producers on the floor selling like madmen. It was an open office, so I heard the conversation spiraling out of control from the very beginning. Dialogue turned to debate, and by the time they were finished talking, my producer threatened the prospect to a duel in the parking lot. Seriously, and I quote, "Well, I'll be here at 16382 Grand River Avenue all day long, and if you're a man, you'll show up and face me. If you want to kick my butt, I'll be here waiting for you." Now, that producer, who shall remain nameless and jobless, was already on his way out looking for a way to quit, and he found it. So I tried a little dialogue with him to find out the trigger, what really happened in the conversation, and even our conversation turned to debate, and I never lose one of those, so I helped him pack his desk, and by noon he was gone. Now, by the time he left, we hugged and kissed, and I've never seen the guy again. But by 4 o'clock, this monster of a man in one of these big F-350 Ford pickups, I mean, Hulk, gets out of this truck, big guy, big truck, big mouth, marches into my office asking for the recently departed employee. He was there for his duel. I saw it coming, and so did Nicole, my sweet little 4'8" office manager, and she looked at me and she said, knowing my propensity to pop off, and she suggested, "Mark, let me handle this." So I did the wisest thing ever. I stepped in the back and I let her handle the problem. She said, "Well, Mr. Bartlett dismissed Agent X this morning after your conversation. He does not allow producers to speak to customers like that under any circumstances. He has a zero tolerance position on that." Now, I'm hiding in the bathroom when she used my name, but I could hear everything. And she talks this guy off the ledge, and within 30 minutes, she's got signatures on 6 autos, a home, a motorcycle, and a boat policy. At one point, Nicole asked this guy, "So what was it that you and Agent X got so heated over?" Even though she already knew the answer, she just wanted to pick at the scab a little bit. Once she'd already gotten the deal, that was okay. And the customer looked at her and said, "I don't know. I have no idea. I can't even remember what we were so upset about." The point is, prospects never remember the subject of the debate. They just remember that they don't like you because you're different from them. Prospects want to do business with people who are like them, not people who oppose them. Now, you might be the smartest guy in the room. So what? Keep it to yourself. If it takes a debate to prove it rather than a dialogue to establish it, you won't make any sales, period. Again, I wish someone had told me this 20 years ago. I thought it was supposed to be my skills of persuasion. Now, the average guy who sees you or smells your sales system coming is going to shut down, and dialogue is done before it ever begins. As an aside, one more thing about your presentation, you're not going to like it. But nobody really cares. All they really care about is themselves. Get that. Get it right now. Get it right now, my producer friend. Sell to their needs, wants, desires, hopes, dreams, motivations, issues, drives, expectations, and even their faith. Follow them to the finish line. This notion that you must lead everything, even dialogue, is just stupid. They don't want to talk about you, your stuff, your life, your wife, your kids, your pressures. They want to talk about themselves. Their crappy life, their crappy wife, their pressures, their struggles. Please, if you want to be the smartest guy in the room, then stay away from where you disagree with prospects and focus on what should bring you together. Seems so easy, but violated so often. Which leads me to my third statement. We're here to perform autopsies, not funerals. It's okay to investigate why somebody died during the sales process or makes them almost dead, but it's never our place to pronounce them dead. You're not a coroner. You're a salesperson. And here's what that means. When you come to any prospect, assume that there's always something missing from the policy or the thing that you're selling that has led to this figurative death or this figurative funeral. Find it and address it. Make yourself the hero of the narrative, and you're well on your way to proving your value. If they tell you that they need the car that you're selling, then put them in the front seat with the keys. If they don't feel a connection with the car, figure out how to drill down a little deeper until you find the car that they do. If this isn't the car, what car really speaks to you? Did you know cars speak? I've had lots of guys tell me that they can. But this is where diagnosis is performed. We must ask questions, but good questions that get the prospect speaking their value. Here's the key to this. In presentations, you're either in diagnosis mode, like performing an autopsy, or you're in download mode, and that will produce a funeral. If you're a producer who does all the talking, downloading all that invaluable information about your company, your track record, download, feature, you're an encyclopedia of information. If you're a producer who asks the right questions, diagnosing customer needs concerning their liability exposure, or their wants or needs, that's like performing an autopsy with the assumption that the prospect isn't really dead yet. It's quite a mental picture, I know, but stay with me on this. I've had a lot of deals heading south that reversed on a single question, and it can be any question. Statements don't get people to stop dead in their tracks and change direction. If you walk out that door, you'll be sorry. That's a statement. Or, why would you walk out that door? You might be sorry if you do, don't you? That's a good question. Asking a question is the only thing short of a pipe bomb that may get them to stop dead in their tracks. There are 3 facts about those questions that should be asked in every autopsy. Again, remember, we don't ask questions at funerals. It's too late. We only ask questions during the autopsy. Questions require a response. A response requires thought, and thought eventually requires action. Just remember, download leads to death and your funeral. Diagnosis leads to a resurrection. You still have a chance. The most powerful practice I've ever performed after every lost sale is an autopsy. I've learned twice as much from those losses as I ever have from any of my successes. Why? Because I always perform this figurative autopsy. I lost, so it's time for some post-mortem analysis. This has been the secret to my success. Nobody ever learns anything at a funeral. It's a time of grieving and sorrow. It's the reason something died. Well, maybe this is a way to keep from having so many deaths in your sales future. I actually learned this pretty early in my sales career, but nobody taught me to do this. Somehow I figured it out. I have 4 more statements I would like to consider with you that I wish someone had shared with me before I started my sales career. Please come back in our next episode so that we can share a few more ideas with each other. Thank you so much, team. I'll see you in our next episode.